See that everything's good. All right. Prophet, thanks for coming on, man. For the second time. I think you're the first guest that I've had on here that has come on the second time. So I think this is the first re-guest interview.
Yeah,
So thanks for coming on, and I think you were the first person that we talked to as well. So it's kind of interesting that way.
yeah. Thanks for the invite. Happy to be here. I've enjoyed our first conversation, and yeah, I think this was the first one you did. I believe so, the first one live. So yeah,
Yeah,
happy
yeah,
to be here and share some stuff on prediction markets, on geopolitics with all Iran stuff and all other markets that may be interesting.
yeah. It's getting really. I think there's a lot of interesting stuff to talk about. But so the first, like, just kind of like an update with you, right? I'm curious, like, how have you been since we last talked? Like, it seems like your Substack has grown quite a bit. And I believe it's the largest. I said on X that it was the largest Substack. I believe it is the largest prediction market Substack. I could be wrong. You have like 600 something subscribers, which is pretty big. I'm just wondering if how's everything been in terms of progress and since we last talked. I think we were all kind of in a different position a few months ago or 6 months ago. So I'm curious how things have gone.
Yeah, definitely. When it comes to the biggest, I think this is the biggest Substack when it comes to actual trading. There are a few others that focus more on like legal aspect of prediction markets or technical aspects of prediction markets. But when it comes to trading, I believe Profit Knows is the biggest. And yeah, I've seen quite a lot of growth since we last talked. It's been a very busy 6 months. I've also got some up and downs on the markets, especially this year, which has been incredibly tough to trade. Uh, but I think that things are looking good. I got some great lessons. I also got some great wins in between. So overall, looking very positive for the remainder of the year, and happy to grow the newsletter more, as I think it's pretty bad that there are a lot of like financial substacks when it comes to pure financial markets and trades there, and there's very little actual people doing prediction markets trading and the recaps that they do, or the thesis that they have, how they actually structure it. I think it's also important when it comes to popularization of prediction markets.
Yeah, you seem to be in kind of a league of your own right now with the Substack newsletter for prediction markets. What do you think? You know, do you think it's worth, there's a lot of like Twitter accounts that do research and stuff like that. Like, you see them pop up all the time. A lot of, do you find that, have you ever wanted to kind of scale into Twitter, or do you think that Substack is the better way to go specifically for this niche, in prediction markets? Just because, you know, uh, you know, curious on what your take on that is. I have my own take
Uh,
on that, by the way, but I'm interested in yours.
So like what I have on my Substack, especially on the paid side, is like very long deep dives into certain topics. So it's not exactly like stock picking or betting tips that most people in this kind of industry sell. It's rather like a pure research. So the value I would say is not exactly in my picks, because they are pretty like everyone can see my positions right on poly market, but the actual alpha and the value I believe I deliver is in the long form, in how I explain my thinking, my rationale, and how I search for different information and put it in context. So for that kind of content, I think Substack is best, because Twitter articles or X articles don't really offer a paid option, and I don't think X is a good platform for long form content. Like, still, despite Elon and Nikita pushing video and longer content, I think the core value proposition of X is like this very short form, breaking news style of reporting,
Yeah, I
snarky
mean,
comments, etc.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I mean, there's like a couple things going on. First of all, I think X is kind of, I don't know, but I imagine monetization has become harder where it's built into Substack, so that is better. But also, like, I'm wondering, I'm wondering if you've noticed this as well. Like, maybe there's less, I don't know, like algo traction for prediction market content. I don't know. I'm curious about it because I see a lot of, because the big complaint right now is like AI slop is everywhere, right? And it's kind of annoying because a lot of the AI slop is very copy and paste, and it's very, not very good analysis. Sometimes it comes off as good, but sometimes it's fake. Have you noticed this trend at all? As someone who actually does prediction market research, like legit prediction market research, um, have you seen more and more of this? And what's your take on that?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of AI slop, like plenty of accounts, not only in prediction markets in general, just posting whatever AI throws out. And I don't really think there's a lot of value in that because like everyone can just prompt an AI and get an answer. So there's definitely a problem with that. And when it comes to X in general, I think it's not only prediction markets, it's not only even crypto. It's I think everyone is seeing engagement down. I don't know if that's purely the algo issue that it pushes just a few accounts that are very big, or is like a larger issue with user retention and user time spent on the platform. Like we have no data on that, but definitely I see that the content I will get, like that my content is not exactly scaling in the way I would like it to. So that's kind of a personal thing as well. But seeing a lot of creators in prediction markets in crypto, but also like artists and all kind of different people that are on X. I see this like trend of them complaining about their reach all the time.
Yeah, I mean, for someone who's getting into type of, we do some AI research too. I'm like, if someone were trying to actually dig into prediction markets and get good quality research, like surface good articles, surface good information. You have a lot of like high impact people following you on Substack. Like a lot of good traders are following you on Substack. What would you say is the best place to start for someone who's trying to maybe either build themselves up as a prediction researcher, or or just like get into it themselves, like deep dive into it themselves?
So I'd say there are two parts of that because one, I think, is engaging in the community. And truth be told, the majority of the community is most active not on X, but on Discord. So I think it's important to actually join those Discord channels and be active there so you're recognized. Also have like an active trading profile that constantly shows some trades. And then there is also the part that I just think like you need to have like a few niches that you're trying to focus on because you can be all over the place. There are sports, there are mentions, there are financial markets, there's politics, election, geopolitics, all kinds of stuff. So there are traders that are better in like culture markets. This is like mentions, this is music, this is like box office. There are more political traders that dabble in geopolitics and elections. There are like pure financial traders. There are bots. So I think you just need to realize what are your strengths and just tap into them. But when it comes to like research, I think the real work is like you can use AI to help you to give you briefs, but then you also need to like properly read on or analyze the stuff you're actually trying to trade and create a proper understanding of the situation. Be it sports, be it geopolitics, is kind of like same thinking.
Yeah, I'm interested. Yeah, I think that's very interesting. Like, I have not actually dived into Discord myself, but I should. I've mostly relied on X. I've mostly relied on like X and Telegram, but that's because we kind of started as like a streaming token on Pump.Fun, and so we built up like a Telegram community. What Discord groups should you join? Like, I'm actually interested in this because I think maybe I should get in on some of these Discord groups.
So I think there are like three main channels, and like one is the main poly market channel, which is like the entry into the whole world. Then I think the two biggest at the moment are Polysquare, which is like a mm, community run, let's say it like that, channel of different traders. There are a lot of people there. There's a lot of activity. It's honestly very difficult to keep up with everything that's going on there, but this is a good place to actually meet some of the most active traders and talk to them. And I guess there is also like a card server like Poly Alpha. I'm not actually very engaged there for my own reasons, but I know it's very popular, and Car also has is a polarizing figure. So some people love him, some people hate him, and he runs a quite large channel as well. So I would say those three are like the top when it comes to size and activity.
So is the lore on car like what is the lore on car? Because I've heard, so from my understanding, like there's been a few things that happened in 2025. I don't know if anything recently, but I see I came in like September or October, so I'm not too familiar with the background of traders except for the ones that I've interviewed directly. Do you know? Like, would you be willing to share a little bit of lore on that? Because I am not familiar with it.
Yeah, like I think it's quite simple. Like Carr, like all in all, is an excellent trader, and there's nothing denying it. But he's sometimes going to like great lengths to actually profit. So some people don't like how far he goes. Sometimes it's a bit manipulative. Sometimes it's dishonest. Sometimes it's just a pump and dump on the news. He was often seen in the comment section on Poly Market, pumping his positions only to then just reverse course. So some people see that as dishonest, but ultimately there's no denying that he's extremely profitable and just a good trader, regardless of the methods he uses.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree with you. Like, I don't have an issue with that as much as I would have an issue with like the insider bait stuff is what I have an issue with, right? Like you know you see a tweet that says, "Oh yeah, for sure this market is going to, it has this and this," but it's so many unverified claims, and then eventually people like pile into that market based off those claims. The referral farming I kind of have a little bit of an issue with. I've seen some unsavory tactics as of late, that I think just give Polymarket a bad name in general. I say Polymarket too um, because for some reason it seems to be more focused on Polymarket. I think it could give Kelshi a bad name too. But that's what I've been seeing lately. And I actually saw, um, oh man, I forget this trader's name. Gecko Gollum, I think his name is.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I saw him call. He's been calling a lot of that stuff out, so I do appreciate that. But that's what I've been seeing lately.
Yeah, I think that insiders are obviously a problem because they gather a lot of bad publicity to Poly Market. Also, it's not exactly fair, I would say, to other market participants because it's simply that someone, for example, in administration just knows something happens and piles in. But at the same time, I completely agree with you, but that there is like too much slop about it because like most of new wallets that just ape into some market are not actually an insider. They're just a degen with a few hundred K that try to be famous and try to earn some money and maybe try to also pump and dump the markets, hoping that they will be noticed as an insider. So I think this is like searching for insiders is not actually a very viable strategy. Like I saw some tools that supposedly give you more info if someone is an insider or not based on the crypto activity before they deploy it on the Polymarket wallet. But I don't really use it myself, and I don't see myself like digging through different new wallets and bet sizes just to see the insider because ultimately if you're like a sharp insider, you won't get caught. There are ways to uh, deploy capital across several wallets and actually slowly accumulate positions that you won't be noticed, especially on the bigger markets where there are so many whales holding like hundreds of thousands of shares that you can simply go unnoticed.
It's also just getting harder to be an insider just in general. Like the typical like fresh wallet strategy, fresh wallet, funded, like maybe scale into it. Like all of that, Polymarket is now catching these guys. I mean, I was really impressed with how they caught the guy who leaked Maduro, the Maduro
Mhm.
capture. I was pretty impressed that I actually looked up like how did they do that. I mean, the biggest tell is like I guess you could track where the money's coming from if it's coming from like a centralized exchange. So if the person deposited from like a Coinbase or something like that, maybe that's one way you could do it. But I use an external wallet, so I actually don't know how they caught that guy, but somehow they did. But regardless, I think it's getting harder to be an insider.
I think they caught him only because they were cooperating with the government, and some people hated on that, but I completely understand because like some matters, especially geopolitical stuff, is a matter of national security, and we shouldn't have people, soldiers, politicians, like usual state people employed in the government trading on the info they know because they reveal uh, the classified information generally they hold. So I don't think that's useful to anyone because it's gonna happen to every side of every conflict, and it's just not something that should be endorsed, in my opinion. So I approve of Polymark actually working with the government to to get this guy because he can be probably a scapegoat that will prevent other people in that position to trade and reveal state secrets.
What do you think of like copy trading, for instance, like following other traders to get an edge? I've had this conversation recently. I was having it with someone like yesterday. And we were just talking about how maybe copy trading, like I think it was actually Delphi Markets. If you've heard of them, I think they're like an aggregation tool for prediction markets. But
Yeah, so once or twice.
yeah, yeah, we were talking, and basically the topic came up that I haven't heard too many massive success stories off of copy trading. I've heard a few, like okay, like I've made a couple, but I haven't heard like I've made like 100 grand off of copy trading. Now I'm not like on top of that, but I'm wondering like from your perspective, is following other traders a successful strategy? Have you tried that? Do you do it in your research?
So like there are a few things here because like obviously you can look at who holds what side on a given market, and this can give you some idea of where the sharps are, where the that money is sitting. But it's not exactly conclusive because you don't really know why each trader entered the trade. So what was the rationale? What is the thesis? What is the exit strategy? They hold to maturity or they're just looking for a pump? How they're positioned across like tens or hundreds of different markets. Some of them are correlated, some of them are not. So you don't really understand the overall strategy behind a single position, and it can be. This is the thing that can ruin you because you may not know that the same trader has a different wallet where he has a completely different set of positions, and somehow they balance themselves, for example, and the trader is just market making. You never know. So I never personally copy trade. I don't use the bots, and I also don't like enter into position just because I see someone holding a yes or no share on the market. But I just never know what's in their mind when they click the buy button.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Like they could easily just be like liquidity farming, for instance. I mean, that's one thing that is very common. I've seen, I was following that guy Elton for a little while, and I was looking at his trades. Then I realized that, like a lot of the times, he's liquidity farming.
Yeah, like
Like
he is the top market maker on the platform currently. He gets the most rewards. He's also a great trader. He used to have like an account before that trade like did more of a trading rather than market making. He was also successful then. So uh, he's obviously a great trader, but the account he's running is a very bad idea to copy trade that because he's across hundreds of markets, just market making.
so, you mentioned earlier, and maybe we can get into the markets a little bit now. because you mentioned earlier that this year has been difficult. I'm curious what you meant by that. In terms of like in comparison to last year, how has trading prediction markets gone as more people have piled in, more scale has occurred, etc.
Like scale is like on one hand good because it gives you tons of liquidity that you can just tap into. Like 2 years ago when I was trading on poly market, there was not enough liquidity. Even if you had like low tens of thousands of dollars on bankroll, on most markets you didn't have enough depth in the order book to actually get a proper position. So that's obviously an improvement. But at the same time, like there are a lot of new sharp people that join. So every market and every price that we see is probably a lot closer to fair value than 1 or 2 years ago. So I would say that this is the one point that trading got more difficult. And the second point is that, at least in my niche, which is geopolitics, 2026 has been extremely busy because we got Venezuela, we have Iran, somewhere in the back of our heads. We also have the midterms, some of the most contested elections, which is, for example, Hungary this year, went on like a month ago. So there was like in a very short period of time, a lot of global events happening, and it was really difficult to actually keep track of everything that was going on.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think, yeah, it has been very busy. It has been a very busy like first quarter. Obviously we're kind of wrapped. It seems to me, and again, I haven't been following it, and I'm curious to get your take because you can see it right here that you just wrote an article like the war for the Strait. I'm curious what you think is kind of going to happen, especially with like the Strait of Hormuz traffic, right? Um, have you been following these markets at all?
Yeah. Like Iran is one of my top focus when it comes to geopolitics now. So definitely, I'm following a lot of markets on this topic.
uh, okay, okay, cool. So, would you mind kind of sharing your opinion on some of these markets? Uh, you
Yeah,
know,
sure.
without giving away any edge. I just, but I'm curious, like, what your take is. Like, I can also pull up the market here. Um, Let me see. Traffic Hormuz. Let me pull this up. I think this is the biggest one. Average
I think it's the normalization, traffic normalization market is the
normal.
biggest.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, normalization. Traffic
Returns to normal. So yeah.
turns to normal. Okay, cool. All right, so here's the market. Very low odds right now that it returns to normal by end of May. So is this so? How do you see this playing out? Basically, how do you see the Strait of Hormuz traffic playing out and this current conflict? And I think this market's interesting because if we kind of figure out like this market, I think a lot of the other markets are kind of like gonna be a little easier to figure out. So
Okay, so this is probably one of the most interesting markets simply because how the rules are structured. Because in the rules, the traffic normalization is 60 ships as a 7-day moving average of traffic calls, uh, transit calls. So this actually calls not for like a single day huge movement spike. It actually calls for a sustained movement of ships through the strait for a longer period of time. So this is essentially a proxy for some kind of prolonged, like a long ceasefire or like a long or a proper peace deal. And at the same time, the important thing to remember is that there's quite high possibility that the strait is mined, and also that even if the hostilities stop and the strait is like declared open by both Iran and the US, the ships will still wait for first thing insurance to go back, and second thing for their operators to actually allow them to cross. So a lot of like a a lot of the times in the last few weeks, those markets spiked on any announcement of a ceasefire or a possible deal. And the reality is that, especially on the shorter dated markets, so mid-May and end of May, it might not be so easy to actually reach 60 ships. The 60 is like 60% or like 50, 60% of usual traffic. But if you look at the Bab el Mandeb Strait, so on the other side, for Arabian Peninsula, even with no Houthis actually shooting now, the average movement through that strait is a lot lower than before the gas war. So there's a lot of risk in that market, especially if you're on the yes side. I think no is perpetually underpriced here. I have some positions. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, like, to your point, even if the traffic were to, like, full ceasefire were to go through, and well, not ceasefire, but let's just say, like, all the problems were to dissolve, you still have the issue of the mined strait, right?
Yeah.
So I think, even like, if you look at this, I mean, I would say June even seems a little bit too soon. I mean, 39% might be a little bit high for June. It seems like things won't. It seems like there's a lot of issues that could linger. I mean, to get back to normal before anything happened, I think it would be tough.
Yeah, and also there's a point in saying that if the strait is declared open, like surely a lot of the boats would like to go out, but would any ships like to go in? That's a very important question that you need to ask yourself if you want to trade this market. So the like few hundred ships that are inside the Persian Gulf would probably love to get out, but I don't see a lot of ships really wanting to get in, even if you have a deal announced. So I think that there'll at least be a few weeks before there's enough trust built for the ships to actually go back in.
Yeah, yeah. I tend to agree with that, which would make this a pretty good opportunity. I mean, you'd have to wait till June. I mean, this is the other issue too. I'm curious if you're looking at any short dated markets right now. I mean, that might be connected to this one, or maybe completely separate. But, like, there was a great short date. I mean, the real great short dated market is like, let's
You
see.
can take a look at the Iran closes its airspace market till May 8th. Like yesterday, it went crazy
Oh
with
yeah, oh yeah. This is a good one.
all the shooting, and this is essentially, I would say, a proxy market on the restart of the war, because the last time Iran closed its airspace was on the day the war began. Previously, it was like in January when the war almost began, and then it was again before that. It was I think at the beginning of the 12-day war. So this is essentially a proxy market on the strikes restarting without actually putting strikes on the market or in the rules. And yesterday, when the whole missile situation with Arab Emirates happened, the May 8th market I think spiked to 40 something cents at one point. So it's been a pretty wild ride. But now I would say that the no is underpriced here as well, because May 8th is what 3 days away,
Hmm.
and Dan Kane himself and Pete Hegseth himself said this morning on the press conference that they don't really perceive the Iranian action as breaking the ceasefire. And by that, I think they just simply show that they're not actually interested in resuming the war, at least right now.
Yeah, that could be a pretty cool market to touch. I mean, I think my general sense too is like, are you following the oil pricing at all, like the oil markets? I mean, my general sense is that if the strait, just from my common whatever, if the strait doesn't reopen or return back to normal, oil prices will be kept up. That's just
Oh yeah,
my
at some point it
honest
must happen, but
feel.
like
Yeah, go
this
ahead.
market is difficult because like oil market is kind of controlled by the government. So like they don't, at least for now, like the US doesn't really want to allow the paper market to go up, because like oil is also complex, right? There's the WTI crude that we have here is a paper market, so it doesn't really concern itself with the physical delivery. But when we look at like dated physical oil markets, then we see that the prices there are a lot higher. Like crude from like not from the US, but like European, Russian, and Middle Eastern crude is like I think $150 plus per barrel. So we already see a lot of pain in the physical market, but we will only see it in the paper market once the pain actually gets to the consumer. And I think,
Yeah.
at least in developed economies, we are still at least a few weeks away from that. And when it comes to the US, the actual pain of shortages might not come at all because, like, well, the US has a lot of oil. So the only pain the US will experience maybe actually just high prices at the pump because of the global prices.
Right. And I'm still sensing like hesitation in the market around that, right? Like, the big pain point is going to come. Um, the market's at all time highs. It's been skyrocketing. The crypto market's going up today. It seems like, this isn't really a prediction market. Well, I guess it is a prediction market question because you can bet on like crypto going up and you can bet on SPY. But like, it does seem like the economy is kind of ignoring the fact that this could still manifest as a crisis. Um, I don't know if this is like a kind of like a relief rally before like a market sell-off, or if this will just continue to go up and we saw bottom. I mean, oh man, what's it called? I can't believe I'm gonna forget the name of this account, but the what's it called? The Kobayashi letter.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
I know
yeah,
the one.
the Kobashi letter. I'm probably not pronouncing that right. But these guys published something very interesting like a couple weeks ago about how, you know, there's like there's a pattern to how Trump handles international conflicts, which is basically like, there's a negotiation period, or there's a high conflict period where things get very bearish, which we've kind of already seen the back and forth between like, I'm going to bomb them to the Stone Age, etc. Then there's kind of like a deal making period or a negotiation period, but usually during that period the bottom's already in and things go up. At least that's what happened last time with the tariff talk. So I don't know. I'm very conflicted on this, but kind of like, again, from my layman's point of view, I'm leaning a little bit more towards the we've seen the bottom of the markets. But maybe you have a different take.
So that really depends because, like for the US, it might be actually true because the US likely will not experience any like energy shortages or shortages in the like short to mid term. But that doesn't necessarily need to be true for European economies, and that's surely not true for Asian economies. But I think that this will be just a similar situation to what we saw during COVID. So up until like mid March, when the lockdowns were suddenly introduced, markets behave like nothing's happening, despite like multiple cases being reported in various different countries, not only China, but like, well, mainly Italy, for example, in Europe, where there are tons of cases during skiing season, where whole Europe basically goes to the Alps and goes skiing. So the market was oblivious then, and only when the lockdowns were introduced, it crashed. And I believe for some economies that are exposed to the coming oil prices, because like, at that point it will happen regardless of the ceasefire, at least in Asia and parts of Europe. The markets also react only when the actual physical shortages start to appear like in our everyday lives. Before that, they will just try to trade the narrative and to hope that nothing happens, because ultimately, contrary to prediction markets where we have like contracts on specific events happening, financial markets are not trading only on macro. They are trading also on a lot of other stuff. So macro is just a part of a wider thesis there.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that fundamentally. I think that there is. I think also more and more there's a disconnect between the equity markets and what's really going on, right? Usually that you get those massive sell-offs when some bad news hits, but after the bad news is priced in, it goes up again because people still have money to invest. So there does seem to be a disc. It's definitely not as connected as prediction markets. Prediction markets are a lot more connected to the actual circumstance, I think.
Yeah,
Um,
that's the difference when you trade on a real event versus like a second or third derivative of that with all different stuff also combined into it. That's
yeah.
a simple reality.
Have you been looking at the Kevin Warsh stuff? Because last time I know you don't always do this, but last time I talked to you, you were kind of looking at some Fed markets. I'm wondering if you still look at Fed markets as part of as part of your portfolio.
So I don't actually hold any positions on Fed markets, but I'm watching the situation like more in the general scope because I think once uh, Powell's term is up as a chair, the situation will get extremely interesting. I've been saying that for a few months now, and I guess last week at least part of that thesis was confirmed because Powell basically announced that he will not necessarily leave the board after his term as chair is over, as it was customary for all the chairs. So I think that we will have a very difficult situation. For example, like Kevin Warsh will have an extremely difficult job because he will not only have to create consensus of whatever his view is on the appropriate level of the interest rate, he will also probably need to battle for authority with Powell, as he will still be perceived by some of the members as the guy with higher moral authority because he's defending the independence of the Fed.
Yeah, yeah. I think that, I've seen a few people online, say, and this proves that there's a lot of people that, even though Fed rate cuts are being priced as low probability, there's
Yeah,
actually a
but
lot of people online that think
yeah,
that,
but as you see, probably the drop here, because I see the market drop like 41%, is
yeah,
probably aligned with the moment Powell announced he might not be leaving the board. I don't know
yeah.
if that's visible on the graph. I didn't actually take a look at it, but
Let me
I
take
would
a look right
like my
now.
intuition is
Yeah, it was at.
oh no, it's yeah, it's more connected to Iran war. I would say.
I think the Powell thing might actually be part of it too. I mean, back in March, yeah, it was at like 82%. And I guess it's gone down since. So maybe you're right, but it does look like it's taken a little bit of a dive. Um, yeah, I mean, do you think that there's any chance at all that Warsh will cut rates as soon as he gets in there and listen to what Donald Trump says, his new boss, and just be like, you know what, I don't want to get treated like Powell did, so I'm just gonna cut rates.
Like, I don't think it's that easy for him. Like because like it's not like entirely his decision. He needs to actually build consensus on the board. And considering everything that's happening between the Powell drama and the independence protecting, etc., and the Iran war, which increases energy prices that just ripple into everything in our economy, so create inflation, I think he will have a very difficult time finding board members that are willing to vote for a cut. And I also think that he himself might not be that willing to cut, considering everything that's happening.
Yeah, I think he's gonna have a very difficult time. My prediction would be that there's going to be a lot of Fed drama because there's still going to be interference in the Fed. I mean, clearly this administration you know does do that a little bit. So I think that we can look forward to like more drama. But I generally think that you're right that he's probably not going to cut rates as soon as he gets in. There are some people
Yeah,
saying
but
that.
like depending on how the Iran war goes, he might be willing to cut later on. But I don't really think we are in an environment in which a cut is a good thing. Like fundamentally, even without all the independence Trump wishes and what Kevin Warsh actually wants to do. So even regardless of that, I think this is like fundamentally a good environment for that.
So Prophet, I don't want to take too much of your time. I know we're at the 40-minute mark. I kind of just wanted to close with a couple more questions just on like maybe my first question to you would be, are there any markets that we didn't kind of cover that you're really excited about right now and that you're currently looking at? Um, Curious on that.
Mm. Just not spilling too many beans. I would say that the market that should be interesting now and in the next few days is Trump China visit, especially by May 15th. This is the rumored date, and last I checked, we had a few airplanes, like U.S. airplanes, landing in Beijing, supposedly bringing all the stuff that is needed for the meeting to happen. So the meeting is now at 87%. But for example, if we get another round of hostilities like we got yesterday with Arab Emirates, this can go down a lot. And if the US decides to react in any way, this will go down very much because initially the meeting was supposed to happen somewhere early April, and it was moved because of the Iran war. And the expectation is that if it somehow restarts, then the meeting will get pushed again. So I would say this is an interesting market that can have some volatility in the next few days, especially since we see some escalations and doubts around whether he will go or not.
Yeah, and I wonder if there's even proxy markets around this kind of China meeting that that is high probable, it's high probability it's going to take place. But I think some of the discussions around, like, let me look right now, see if there are any. China
Like
Trump.
87% for a meeting that is supposed to happen in 10 days. I think that's if you really believe the meeting will happen regardless, I think it's one of the best price you can get for such a short dated return. And
Do
not a
you,
lot of markets that pay you 13% on close to certainty if you believe that the meeting will happen, right?
yeah, I mean, if you put like, let's see if you put like 10,000 in. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you could get some good money out of this. I think this is a pretty good market.
Like
Um,
I would say that my fair value is probably in the low 90s. So that's like mostly correlated with my fair value of restart of hostilities in that term. But not only, I would say that even with some small like fighting, he could also still go. So, but that's
Profit,
just me. Do you do your own research always because uh, that's your thing, that's your money, and this is not financial advice.
oh yeah, yeah, for sure. Like, yeah, always do your own research, and definitely do not take everything word for word that you hear on that you hear online, for sure. Um, Profit, do you use any like tools at this point, or are you just kind of using Polymarket and that's it? Like, are there any apps that you use that you've enjoyed lately? I've seen a few interesting ones. Like, I just had a conversation with Robin Markets, which does like staking. So for longer geopolitical positions, you can like stake your positions and earn yield on them. I guess they get the yield from, they convert the position into USDC, and then they send it over to Yearn, and you can like earn on your positions basically.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's really cool. There's some really cool tools popping up. I'm wondering if you use any right now.
So, like, at least for now, the only like, tool I use is a trading terminal. Just because at some point the UI and the UX on the main poly market side was tragically slow, and then also I understood that I'm using Batchmore, so you can check it out if you want. I think this they have a pretty good like UI and UX. They have a lot of additional info on the markets, and it's pretty easy and simple and straightforward to use. So for now, I'm sticking with that. When it comes generally to terminals, I'm rather distrustful, especially with all the crypto scams happening. So it took me several months to actually get enough trust in Betcore to use it as a trading terminal. But then probably like I've heard from at least a few founders recently trying to like show me what kind of product they're trying to build on the market. And recently, I started to get more and more interested in all the kinds of different tools and products you can use. So probably in the next few months, I'll try and test a few out and see if this is something that complements my trading or is it just a distraction. And I prefer to stick with what I do now.
What's the We have a lot of builders listening to the chat. I'm just curious, like, what was the final thing that kind of said, "Oh yeah, this is a platform that I can trust, with my money to trade."
So like ultimately, I know like a lot of sharp traders actually using it, and the builder of that platform was on Discord, wasn't some of the like less popular Discord channels that I'm also part of was active there and was a trusted member. So this also gives him the credibility requires for traders to deploy capital. So if you're active in trader communities and you get the trust, and then it's a lot easier for different traders to actually start using your product, especially if they need to connect the wallet and do it through the API, for example, because then there's a layer of risk that usually is unnecessary, right? So I would say if you're like a young builder or a beginning stage builder, you should go to Discord, go to different channels, and try to build your position there as someone that is trustworthy and that actually cares about the product and cares about the users and listens to feedback, etc., etc.
Well, Prophet, it was really good having you on, man. As I said, I don't want to keep you too much longer. Do you have anything to kind of shout out or promote, or what are your future plans regarding your Substack and kind of anything you're working on right now?
Uh, yeah, so when it comes to Substack, I just want to like, continue with regular content because like I just understand that when someone wants to follow you or even pay you as a pay subscriber, what they require is that they know what they're paying for. So I'm able to just stick to regular schedule and bring more and more people that are interested in the topic. But if I were to promote something, I also like started a YouTube channel where I do like a weekly commentary on different markets. So if you ever are on a walk or on a stroll and want to listen to some commentary on geopolitical markets and how and why they move, then check it out. It's just as the X account Profit notes, and I try to do it weekly, just to like diversify the content because I understand that a lot of people are usually on the move. And reading like a 3,000 words essay is not always something they can do.
Yeah, and I will say that I am subscribed. I'm a loyal subscriber, so it's good. It's worth every penny, and it's good even if you aren't in prediction markets because you can. It's just like a good news source, to be honest with you. But
Thank you for the shout out. I appreciate this up.
cool, well, Prophet. It was great talking to you, and let's definitely catch up again.
Yeah, sure. Maybe when there's another like tense situation, we can
Yes,
bring a few traders in and discuss. I think I
yeah,
floated this idea last time we met, and I think like this year definitely there will be a few opportunities to test the format out if you're open to it.
I'm open to it. We're about to release like a political scandal app, which basically tracks like funny corrupt politician financing, campaign financing. It's actually pretty cool. We're about to release it. I'd love to get a monitor the situation for like the midterms or something like that if you're into that.
Yeah,
But
yeah, sure.
we'll see. We'll see what
Count me in.
happens.
Awesome, awesome, man. Count me in, and also thank you for having me on the show. Really enjoyed it, same as before, and looking forward to speaking to you again.
Looking forward. See you later, Prophet.
Yeah, see you later. Bye.